Alright, also look. Welcome back to the channel. And guess what? It's fight week. And UFC 315 is going down tonight, live at the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. With the main event featuring the 5th ranked welterweight of the world, Della Maddalena, taking on the undisputed welterweight champion of the world in Belal, remember the name, Muhammad, in a bout that's got some insanely intense future implications on multiple weight divisions moving forward. And so now, in today's video, we're going to be breaking down and going over my main card breakdown analysis as well as predictions on UFC 315's main card, as well as also speed running through my early prelims as well as regular prelim predictions as well. So, with that being said, without further ado, let's get right in to the video. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so you can help me reach 3,000 subscribers by May. I'll deeply appreciate you. And make sure you join the official UFC Discord, link in the description. Alright, so look. For this video, I'm gonna be speed running through my early prelims as well as regular prelim predictions, and then later getting into more detailed breakdowns once we've reached the main card. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin with the curtain jerker. The first fight of the night, where we've got a bout between Brad Katana taking on Baghdad Almakhan, where I've got Baghdad Almakhan taking this fight by unanimous decision. Next up on the card, we've got a flyweight bout between Daniel Santos taking on Li Zhangyang, where I've got Daniel Santos taking his fight by unanimous decision. Next up on the card, we've now got a middleweight bout between Marc-Andre Barriault taking on Bruno Silva, where I've got Marc-Andre Barriault to take this dub by another unanimous decision. Now, heading into the prelim fights, where we've got a light heavyweight bout between Navarro Sterling taking on Ivan Ersland, where I've got Navarro Sterling taking this dub by another unanimous decision. Next up on the card, we've got another light heavyweight bout between Modestas Bukauskas versus Ion Cutelaba, where I've got Modestas Bukauskas to win this fight by either a second round TKO or a unanimous decision. Next up on the card, we've got a women's flyweight bout between Jessica Andrade taking on Jasmine Jasdavicius, where I've got Jasmine Jasdavicius to take this dub by unanimous decision. And now last, but certainly not least, for the prelim fights, where we've got a bout between the Canada native himself, Mike Malott, taking on Charles Radke, where I'll be taking Mike Malott to win this fight by, you guessed it, a unanimous decision. And now for the main card, where we've got a lightweight matchup between the God of War, Benoit Saint-Denis, taking on the long-awaited UFC return of Kyle Perkolik. And look, y'all, honestly, when this matchup between Benoit Saint-Denis and Joel Alvarez fell through, I was super curious on who the UFC were going to give BSD next. And then when Mauricio Rufy threw his name into the ballot, I was like, oh yeah, Dana and Hunter are about to start cooking something good. I mean, there are so many exciting unranked lightweights at 155, and, you know, yeah, they probably brought in Perkolik because he's Canadian or whatever, but either way, regardless of recent events, I believe that Benoit Saint-Denis is gonna go out there and show why he was once such a hyped lightweight prospect. And look, I think if Benoit Saint-Denis starts to lean into his wrestling roots, like, you know, hit his takedowns and start looking for finishes on the ground, then he can absolutely do whatever he wants to Kyle Perkolik. But then again, if he wants to keep things standing, then he's got to watch out, because when I was looking back at some tape, Kyle Perkolik does like to get wild and start, you know, swinging haymakers out of nowhere. But I do believe that Benoit Saint-Denis can definitely hold his own and outclass him on the feet wherever it goes. That is why I've got Benoit Saint-Denis taking this fight by second to third round TKO against Kyle Perkolik. Next up on the card, we've got a sleeper banger of a matchup at the women's flyweight division. I'm talking about the former champ, Alexa Grasso, taking on Natalia Silva. And look, y'all, honestly, this was an insanely tricky fight to call, honestly. But if I'm gonna be choosing a victor here, I'm gonna be siding with Alexa Grasso on this one. And look, I totally understand why a lot of people are hyped on Natalia Silva. I mean, she's super dynamic on the feet as well as really flashy with her striking, while on the other hand, Alexa Grasso's more about, the clean fundamental boxing or whatnot. But to me, I believe that solid, straightforward boxing from Alexa Grasso is a lot more effective than any one thing Natalia Silva brings to the table on the feet. And so going into this bout, I believe that Alexa Grasso is going to do her level best to close that distance and get into that tight boxing range, as well as take away the space that Natalia needs in order to throw all of her fancy ranged attacks. I mean, we've seen Natalia Silva struggle when she isn't able to work from range, and I think that's going to be a major problem for her going into this bout against Alexa Grasso, honestly. But then again, I do understand that Alexa Grasso off of her back didn't necessarily look the greatest in her trilogy match against Valentina Shevchenko. But if we're talking about offensively, then Alexa's got a very underrated ground game as well. And I think, during this fight with, the long, rangy Taekwondo style of Natalia Silva, those are going to be insanely essential. And if she uses her hands in order to set them up, then I 1,000,000% believe that she's gonna be able to put Silva on the mat. But you see, I don't necessarily want to discredit Natalia Silva either, because when this fight was officially announced, I honestly thought that this was gonna be a decisive win in her part. Probably play the perimeter game, stay long, and pick Alexa Grasso apart from distance. But at the same time, I cannot discredit the former champ's experience as well as her battle-tested authority either. And while Natalia Silva's got a lot of tools, sure, I kind of do think that she's, for a lack of a better term, a one-trick pony. Meanwhile, Alexa Grasso's sharp with, what she does best, and, with that clean boxing mixed in with some smart wrestling, that could be all she needs in order to get the job done. That is why I've got Alexa Grasso taking this fight against Natalia Silva by unanimous decision victory. Now, next up on the card, we've got the return of the King of Rio, Jose Aldo, versus Ariel Helwani's twin brother, Aiemann Zahabi. And you see, honestly, I think this fight's gonna be pretty straightforward. I'm gonna be going with Jose Aldo on this one. Now, there has been a certain turn of events, because after yesterday's weigh-in, it came out that this fight will be taking place at featherweight, because apparently Jose Aldo wasn't able to make 135 in time, and y'all already know that stuff like that does have heavy implications on the fight moving forward. And, taking that into account, Jose Aldo is getting a bit on the older side, and it might be a little hard for him to make those deep cuts. I really think that after this bout, he should really go back to 145. I mean, he's already a Hall of Famer in the game and has quite literally nothing left to prove. But I digress. I really think that when looking at Aiemann Zahabi, one of his main keys to victory here would be to use his boxing. I mean, it is pretty solid, no doubt, but, to outbox the King of Rio, I don't think so. Jose Aldo's way sharper, a lot faster, and knows how to find all those right shots up close. And, even though Aiemann Zahabi's got, a decent kicking game as well, he's absolutely got nothing on the King of Rio. I mean, kicking is quite literally his bread and butter. I think going into this bout, Jose Aldo should quite literally do everything better than Aiemann Zahabi through and through. And, will the weight issue potentially play a part in this? Maybe, but I think that Jose Aldo should be able to outclass Aiemann Zahabi on the feet regardless. And, when we talk about the ground game, I mean, come on. No one's got better takedown defense than the King of Rio himself, and I don't think that Aiemann Zahabi's takedown game's enough to do what we saw Mario Bautista do to Aldo way back when. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I just cannot see Jose Aldo losing here. I mean, he's better in every single area that Aiemann Zahabi wants to win in, and I just think that once Aldo gets back into his rhythm, he's really going to remind everyone how elite he truly is. That is why I've got Jose Aldo by either third round TKO or unanimous decision victory against Amin Zahabi. And now for the co-main event of the evening, where we've got a women's flyweight championship bout between the Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko, versus the streaking contender, Manon Fiorot. And in this fight, I'm gonna be going with Valentina Shevchenko to be taking a dub on this one. And to be real, I honestly believe that experience differential here is gonna be massive. I mean, Valentina Shevchenko has been in so many high-level 5-round fights before, and, she's defended her title multiple times, and she should know how to stay calm as well as technical when placed in these high-level pressure moments with Manon Fiorot. And so I believe that championship-level expertise will matter a ton here, especially against someone like Manon Fiorot who's still climbing toward that elite ladder. And I mean, let's not forget that the Bullet is coming off of a super impressive performance at UFC 306, where she clearly outstruck Alexa Grasso and landed a total of 8 takedowns. Clearly showing that, she's able to still mix things up and adapt on the fly. And, that ability to adjust mid-fight, I mean, that's the kind of things that, really separates the greats from the elites. But then again, Manon Fiorot is still super, super dangerous. I mean, she's fast, she's sharp on the feet, and she can keep things technical at all times. But I still think that Valentina's got so many more layers to her game. I mean, whether it stays standing or goes to the ground, she's just so much more well-rounded overall. And, don't get it twisted, Manon Fiorot is going to bring some challenge here for sure. But I don't think she has the tools she needs in order to overwhelm or outsmart Valentina Shevchenko over a 5-round time frame. So yeah, I believe this fight ends up being a very technical as well as competitive fight, where the Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko, does what she does best and just uses her experience, fight IQ, as well as her versatility to the absolute maximum. That is why I'm gonna be going with Valentina Shevchenko by unanimous decision against Manon Fiorot. And now for the main event of the evening. We've got the one that decides it all, Della Maddalena versus Belal. Remember the name, Mohammed. And look, if you haven't already checked out my 2 most previous videos that I've got on this fight where I talk about the implications of it moving forward, I recommend you go check that out for a more further deep dive and breakdown. But to make a long story short, I'm gonna be going with Della Maddalena on this one. And look, you don't gotta tell me. Everyone and their mother wants Belal Muhammad to win this fight because, for us, a Belal Muhammad win in turn means the biggest super fight in the history of the sport. But for me, even though I'm just itching to see Ilia El Matador get back into the cage, and especially against Islam Makhachev, I can't switch up on my boy, Della. And so I've got him going into this fight against Billy B. And so you see, the reason I've got Della Maddalena winning this fight is solely because I believe that he's got that one thing that Belal Muhammad has historically struggled against, and that's relentless finishing pressure paired with high-level boxing IQ. You see, Belal Muhammad really thrives when his opponents are hesitant about that takedown threat. And, when you give him that space to do things like dictate pace, clinch up, and grind you out against the cage. That's when he really starts to look elite. But Della Maddalena, on the other hand, is the polar opposite. He's going to walk you down, welcome that chaos, and turn every exchange into a moment of danger. And yeah, while Belal Muhammad's pressure wrestling worked well against a more passive striker like a Leon Scott, who allowed himself to get backed up, Della Maddalena doesn't take a back step, and his head movement, his pocket boxing, as well as the consistent threat of that left hook make it incredibly risky for Belal Muhammad to just shoot lazy entries or get comfortable trying to pressure. And defensively, Jack's been shaping up his takedown defense as well as his submission awareness, training with the one and only Craig Jones or whatnot. And, even if he does get taken down, which he probably will, I believe that he'll use his scrambles well, use the ground and pound effectively. And, now that he has a deeper submission threat to deter Belal Muhammad just, riding top control, things like just consistently shooting might be hella risky for Remember the Eyeball. And speaking about the striking, when talking about Belal Muhammad's boxing, while it is effective, it is a product of his constant threat of the takedown. And in my personal opinion, I believe that it's fairly one-dimensional. And, it can't keep up with the layered striking of a Jack Della Maddalena and what he brings to the table. I mean, when Jack mixes levels, he paints reactions and targets the body. He's not going into this fight looking to outpoint Belal, he's looking to finish him. In short, I believe that if Jack Della Maddalena keeps this fight standing for even 2 rounds, the attrition is gonna start to add up. I mean, his body shots, forward movement, as well as his ability to force those ugly brawls will put Belal Muhammad in unfamiliar territory, and that's where Jack Della Maddalena truly shines. That is why I've got Jack Della Maddalena beating Belal Muhammad by either 3rd to 4th round, KO or TKO, subsequently bringing upon the new age of the Jack Della era. But that's all I've got to say for this video. Let me know in the comment section below, what are your guys' overall thoughts on the entire UFC 315 card? And, what are your guys' pick for both the co-main and main events? For the co-main, do you have the Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko, or Manon Fior? And for the main event, do you have Belal, Remember the Eyeball, Muhammad, or Jack Della Maddalena? Let me know in the comment section below. But that about wraps up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.